Hi, welcome to Nutshell Recap. Well, don't be shocked. This is my real voice. And don't criticize me, guys. But I want to say that I'm seeing a lot of channels getting hacked. So I want to use my real voice. At least you guys can remember it. Let's dive into the story. When Enid was done crying, he felt a lot better and came inside the house. He was thinking that it's embarrassing crying alone outside like a kid. He blushed, recalling the situation earlier. Suddenly, Gro asked him if he has done whatever he had to do. Enid flinched, seeing him waiting. He stammered, but replied in affirmation. But Gro had some suspicion. He stared at him knowingly. But then he told him to wait there. He got Enid a cup of tea. Enid was surprised, thinking that he must have known that he was crying. He started sipping it slowly. He didn't know why, but it was all silent for a while between them. Enid was thankful that Gro didn't ask him any question. It was getting awkward somehow. So he started with small talk. He spoke about how Gro always looks very cold hearted, but in fact, he was quite the opposite, warm and kind. Hearing it, Gro felt very happy inside. Even Enid blushed after saying that. He was thinking that this type of conversation didn't seem exactly the kind of conversation between two grown men. After feeling a little happy, Gro suddenly warned him that he shouldn't trust a man's kindness. A man only shows kindness when he has other intentions. Enid was unable to respond at that moment. He stared at him for a few seconds, then broke into laughter. He stated between his laughs that he didn't know that Gro could also make jokes sometimes. On the other hand, seeing him laughing heartily, Gro's cheeks were burning, thinking that even his smiles were perfect. He was definitely his type. His ears had turned red. He had never thought that he would have to worry about falling into honey trap. But if Enid decides to seduce him, he would fall into pit happily. He imagined that Enid would call his name affectionately, and he would hold his hard thing down there to please him. Now his clothes had slipped, and his collarbone to his chest all were visible, tempting him. He would say to him that it seemed that there is much urgent task that needed to be taken care of than his curse. These pants that he got him now looked dangerously tight. Those wild imagination made him choke on the tea, and he spurted it out. His whole face had become feverish. Enid asked Enid asked him if he was okay, to which he replied with the difficulty that no need to worry. On the other hand, he was thinking how to stop his thoughts, which were running wild these days. It was night time, so Enid offered him a room to stay. Gro looked into it and realized that it was the same room he had slept when he was kid. Seeing Enid returning, he asked him if he was not going to bed yet. Enid replied that he had some work to do. When he asked about what kind of work, Then Enid told him that the request he got earlier, he had to get that over with first, only then he could fully commit to solving his problems. Grove followed him and asked if it was okay if he looked, because he didn't want to sleep yet. Enid agreed and told him to come with him. Grove had confirmed one thing about Enid, that he was not any assassin. But he still had to keep an eye out. Enid sat on the chair and started scribbling, and told Grove to feel free to look around and then go to bed if he felt like. Grove looked around for a bit and then he looked at Enid, who was scribbling on the paper. Seeing his writing, which was a mess, he thought that Enid was not only bad at cleaning the house, but his writing was even worse. Enid grasped his thoughts and stated that his writing was like chicken scratch, right? Seeing his thoughts had slipped into his face, Grove panicked. But Enid explained that he knows how it looks, but it helped him in various ways. Recipe theft wasn't something new in that industry. All the locks and codes couldn't prevent thefts from happening. But if the thief couldn't read the writing itself, it was difficult for them to steal it. So it became habit of his, writing like chicken scratch. Grove realized that it was very sad, very, very sad. There probably wasn't much he could do as a commoner. He sympathized with him and stated that it must have been very tough on him. Hearing it, Enid paused. His weak heart, which was frozen for years, melted in hearing these little kind words. His cheeks had turned red. He complained in his heart that how could he throw such a comforting words like they were nothing again. Well, because those little words were nothing for the dragon actually. No one had ever spoken to Enid that way before. He was still thinking when Grove asked him suddenly if he could tell him about his work. He glanced at him and then started searching for some paper. He handed him over to Grove to read it. Grove took it and started reading carefully. His face suddenly changed. He read it. Request for the potion that shows the user's future spouse. Enid chuckled and explained that it seemed funny, but some very high nobles must be pretty curious to know who their future spouse is going to be, which sounded very ridiculous. But which part? Predicting the future? It might be possible. The oracle tells the future as well. However, prediction that just showcase of one's future that had the highest possible chance of happening, which meant it might not be the right all time. What would happen if someone were to commercialize such potion? People were going to complain about the product. He mumbled that a potion that shows future spouse. Imagine what that could bring. Grove, on the other hand, thinking that it sounded ridiculous, but he asked Enid if he could sell him one of those when he met them. Enid readily agreed, but he was surprised. He thought that Grove wouldn't be interested in such thing. But Grove was determined. He replied that he would like to try it. Let's go into the past. Glunn, or we can say that generations of the dragon that can't choose who he wishes to marry. Grove's father was bedridden. He wished he had some more time. He wanted to tell Grow about that when he gets older, but it seems that he had no other choice. He told the 8 years old Grow that they cannot have children with ordinary people, so he must not sleep with anybody. Grow asked him what would happen if he did that. The father weakly answered him that if he did that, that person will die. Grow was very scared hearing it, but he picked up his courage and asked that who should he marry then? His father told him that the one who the blood of dragon allows, that would be the only person he should meet. The blood that runs in his family made it difficult for the Glunns to find a suitable match. I think the Glunn term is referred to the dragon tribe in the story. Anyway, it sometimes took ages to find that perfect match, but they were sometimes matched with the ones that were never meant to be. However, it was a task destined for all Glunns that must be fulfilled. And for Grow, he just wanted to see it beforehand so that he could save so much time. Maybe that's fate. A lonely genius, alchemist, commoner who is yearning for acknowledgement, and an intelligent and compassionate dragon king who is searching for cure. Now, this episode ends here, and I want to say something. Comment if you like it, or do you want to change it back to the AI voice? Please, I know my pronunciation is bad, but I am learning. Please forgive me, guys. I'm sorry. Bye bye.